First of all, special thanks to those giving this video a second watch. For those who don't know, despite the plethora of videos that have been up for literal years, full of footage of this show, despite me ripping their footage just in case, and despite apparently having my video be reviewed and approved by the collaborating power of Wuthering Waves, my video still got copyright claimed and had to be removed. But now I'm back in full effect, here to replace all the show's footage, including the Netflix trailers that also got flagged, with hand-drawn cutouts. Roll that footage. Let's get it. Hey, yo, what's up, chums? Are y'all ready for that Wuthering Waves Edgerunner collab? Hey, that date just keeps creeping up, don't it? If you're not really familiar or you need a little refresher on the Edgerunner story before the collab jumps off, this is the video for you. I'm a huge fan of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. The series is phenomenal. There's so many interesting characters and themes and visuals. And the first episode absolutely blew me away. Not a scene or a moment was wasted. There's a callback for everything. It quietly sets up so much of the series. So in this video, I wanted to review that first episode and dive deeper to explore more of the themes present throughout the rest of the series and the relationships between the characters. And as y'all already know, the Wuthering Waves Edgerunners collab is right around the corner. So for those of you who are a little bit rusty on the details, stick with me, because we're about to break it all down. Without further ado, let's get it. When the story begins, without hesitation, the uninitiated quickly learn exactly what kind of place Night City really is. A man shoots a cop and then fires up his Sandevistan and goes ballistic, slaughtering every officer in the area without a single thought. We find out he's experiencing cyberpsychosis, a condition caused by a number of factors, but ultimately comes down to installing too much cyberware, or cybernetic body parts. And turns out this happened just a couple hours earlier. And the main character of the series, David, is watching all of this unfold as a brain dance he got from a Ripper doc, which foreshadows a lot of the themes present throughout the story, including the ending. After this, it cuts to a shot of David waiting in front of a dryer. He's waiting for his school uniform to be ready. Then suddenly, the dryer stops. Turns out, in Night City, even your home appliances require a separate regular subscription. David's mom, Gloria, just hadn't got around to paying it yet. And we quickly learned that they're pretty much living on the edge when it comes to finances. What's more is that now David also needs software for his classes at school, but his mom hadn't gotten paid yet. So he decided to take matters into his own hands. He purchased a bootleg from the doc, but his mom tells him to just wait and she'll handle it and get it done the right way. By the way, David's mom is a medical technician. And crazily enough, she was on the news at the very same incident David was watching in the brain dance. She'd gotten home not too long ago and had fallen asleep on the sofa. Just as David leaves, she calls someone with the name Maine. But the scene changes before we can really hear what their conversation is about. So David walks to school, and the journey is pretty crazy. There's a stark line between the haves and the have-nots in Night City, but amidst the chaos, there's a small oasis where a kid might be able to climb out of the struggle and onto the corpo ladder. And that oasis is David's school, Arasaka Academy, an expensive private school connected to the largest company in the land. When he gets there, he's immediately called out by the school AI for not wearing his uniform because, it was in the dryer. Afterwards, Katsuo Tanaka, David's school bully, insults and berates him, reminding him that he doesn't belong there. When David activates his bootleg software, it corrupts and damages the entire system. And then we immediately jump to the principal's office with David and his mom. And the principal is basically trying to say David doesn't belong there. And he suggests switching schools, but Gloria is having none of it. She even promises to take care of the repairs despite us, the viewer, knowing that they don't really have bread like that. On the way home, David and his mom talk about the situation. She's upset and reminds him that she told him to get the legit software. David knows they're living paycheck to paycheck and is essentially like, "But I really don't belong there, Mom." And he says he doesn't even want to go there anyway. And even if he does graduate, he knows that they'll never accept him. So he should probably just drop out and get a job somewhere. And then Gloria breaks down. And she's like, "In terms of ridicule, you think they don't talk about me the same way? That's why I'm working so hard. And what am I breaking my back for anyway? If you're not going to take your future seriously." And after some back and forth, they eventually get on the same page, and David agrees to do better. She says she knows he can do it, and that someday he'll make it all the way to the top of Arasaka Tower. Then suddenly, they're caught in a crossfire between two gangs. Gloria is ejected from the vehicle, and despite David's screams, the trauma team intentionally neglects and walks by her after discovering she doesn't have the right insurance for the coverage. David somehow manages to get her to the hospital. She's banged up, but in a stable condition. However, their insurance package doesn't cover visitation, so David just leaves and goes home. And when he gets there, he can't even open the door. Turns out rent has been past due, so access is denied. He has to climb through a vent in the side of the wall just to get inside. Once inside, he starts going through his mother's belongings to find the Sandevistan, that same cybernetic implant the guy used in the BD David was watching at the start of the episode. He asks Doc, what's the going rate if he wanted to sell? But it isn't high enough, so David just says forget about it. David is out the next day, and guess who he bumps into? He runs into his school bully, Tanaka. And this time, Tanaka has the whole clique with him. And if you thought Tanaka disrespected him earlier, man, Tanaka starts talking mad greasy about him. He tells him he's not welcome. I mean, he's talking about his financial situation, his mama. He calls him trash. Tanaka escalates this to a physical altercation with David. And it's obvious David is from the rough side of town, so I'm expecting David to slide this nerd. But turns out, Tanaka has cyberware, and he beats the brakes off David. I'm talking he beats David bad. David is the one who ends up getting folded. And Tanaka tells him to pack some serious chrome or just drop out. Bad turns to worse because David gets a phone call after this. It's about his mom's condition. Turns out she passed away. And it's basically all because her insurance wouldn't cover the life-saving procedure she needed. And to add insult to all of this, Tanaka sends some voicemail messages to him, insulting his mother's death. All this is a breaking point for David. David goes to the Ripper Doc, Sandevistan in hand. He's ready to chrome the fuck up. Now, I know this next part isn't in the first episode, but the second, but it's one of my favorite parts. So I gotta talk about it. Plus, it kicks off the rest of the major events in this series. So David chromes up. He heads out to school the next day, and when he gets there, he heads straight for Tanaka. David is ready to throw them hands. He kicks Tanaka out of the chair. Tanaka's like, whoa, whoa, Chun, we're at school. There are cameras. You gotta chill. And David's like, I don't give a fuck about no cameras. David socks him in the face saying, you afraid of getting caught? Because I know I sure as shit ain't. David allows Tanaka to prepare himself, and then he activates his Sandy and demolishes Tanaka. And this event results in him being expelled from school. While Night City is somewhat of a nightmare, people still have dreams. The desire to be more, see more, to live beyond the constraints that society or circumstance has placed upon them. During the first episode, we catch glimpses of Lucy, but it isn't yet established just who she is. She almost appears as a trance or a ghost or a dream. Eventually, she meets David. She attempts to steal his shard, but David catches her. They talk, and one thing leads to another, and he ends up working for her just to make ends meet. She invites David back to her place, and they get to know each other a bit better, and we, the audience, get a better understanding of both characters. When she read David's shard, she finds out he's a student at Arasaka. a prestigious school connected to the biggest company in the world. But David tells her that it's not like it seems. He didn't come up with a silver spoon. He tells her that his mother did what she could to scrape by, and with the little earnings she could get, she spent it all trying to build the picture-perfect future for David, to escape poverty and the wickedness of Night City, so he could have a chance to stand atop Arasaka Tower. But this was his mother's dream. It wasn't David's anyway. Symbolism of Lucy's dream is shown to us subtly multiple times in the first episode and throughout the series. There's constantly spaceships taking off in the background, presumably heading to the moon. Lucy's dream is to go to the moon, and she shares her dream with David via braindance. Her reason is because she views Night City as a prison, and this is her way out, and she'll do whatever it takes to get there. In episode 1, we learn that the scene with David's mom, Gloria, being on TV and her cleaning up the aftermath of the cyberpsycho, this incident and the opening wasn't something to just ignore, and neither was her phone call to Maine. In order to make ends meet, she had been clipping implants to sell to Edgerunners, and the Sandevistan was originally supposed to go to Maine. When Maine first meets David, he hems him up, but after finding out he's Gloria's son and what happened to her, he agrees to let him go, and eventually, David joins Maine's crew. Maine's dream is to make a name for himself and become a major player, a legend in Night City's Edgerunner scene. And by the end of the series, David fulfills all of these dreams, although none of them are truly what everyone wanted. After Maine's passing, he takes charge of Maine's crew, dying a legend, immortalized in the name of a drink in the Afterlife bar. His final job provides enough money for Lucy to finally make her escape to the moon, and she even has enough money to make it round trip if she really wanted to. And just before he begins his losing battle against Adam Smasher, David physically climbs to the top of Arasaka Tower. Under the strain of cyberpsychosis, he says, "Look, Mom, I'm here, the very top of Arasaka Towers." Of course, this isn't anywhere near how Gloria envisioned it, but I guess that's just how fate twists things in Night City. Light turns to darkness, hope to despair. High tech leads to low lives, as in high technology and people's reliance on it often doesn't lead to higher quality of life. And I know I said reliance, but honestly, it's more of an addiction. Maine threatens to kill David when he first meets him, or rather, when he first honey traps him. But why? Because he's wearing the Sandevistan, chrome that Gloria had stashed and set aside for him. After Maine dies, what is David carrying after he leaves the building after seeing his mentor and father figure pass away? He's carrying Maine's cybernetic arms. It's pretty much like chrome rules everything around him. Preem. And cops can't even police a subsection of people because of all the cybernetics. They have to call in the special forces, MaxTac. Corporate greed results in them owning everything while people live in squalor. On David's walk to school, people are posted next to bags of trash. Degenerates can be seen pleasuring themselves in brain dances on the open streets. And due to the wealth disparity, gangs roam the city seeking whatever they can take. That lifestyle isn't a rarity, and a common career path on the streets of Night City involves chroming up and becoming what some consider an outcast in the real world. They become a merc or an edge runner. The bulk of society doesn't live in Night City. They survive. One thing is abundantly clear throughout the series, and that's that no one is safe, no one is special, and no one will be spared, only but so long. This seems to be a constant theme in Cyberpunk, and we see this illustrated through a number of characters, through Rebecca, through Lucy, and through David, the main character of the show. Speaking of Rebecca, there's no better or more loyal crash out to have by your side than Rebecca. She's insane, but in the best way possible. After David's first gig with Maine's crew, there's an after party, and it's there that it's implied that Rebecca has a crush on David. She tries to get his attention, but David has his eyes only on Lucy. Also, Rebecca's brother Pilar will be the first to establish that This is one of those shows where the main cast isn't safe, and that at any moment, someone's existence can be cut short. Rebecca admires David a lot. After Maine passes, the crew becomes David's, and Lucy steps away from the crew. But during this time, Rebecca essentially becomes David's A1, almost like the second in command of the crew, and they spend a lot of time together. She also is the first one to notice David's early symptoms of cyberpsychosis. Despite all of this, she never really tries to cross the line with David and his love life, and she respects the fact that he's in a relationship with Lucy. At the end, when Lucy is finally with David again after being kidnapped, she says for David's sake, she's happy. Although this happy ending, this brief reunion of seeing all these remaining crew members together is cut short, as well as Rebecca's life by the hands of Adam Smasher. So early on in the story, it's heavily implied and even stated outright that David is special, which honestly is expected for a protagonist. Fact or fiction? The main character of a story is often the tale of the exceptional, the outstanding, when it comes to confidence, defiance, constitution, power, or whatever it is. The story is how they are different. David seems to exhibit this. A normal person with his age and frame firing up the Sandevistan wouldn't be expected to do anything, and maybe even fry their brain in the first go. Not only did David fire it up, he uses the Sandy several times in a single day, and this is without immunosuppressants. Not only are Lucy and Maine blown away by this, but so is Arasaka, to the point where they're seeking to recruit him. Eventually, at the end, when he's in the Arasaka contraption, the cyberskeleton, face to face with Adam Smasher, Adam says, "You could say I'm special." David replies, "Well, so the fuck am I." Just before Adam kills David, he says, "You think you're special because you're scrappy?" And before he fires the final shot, he proposes that David go full Borg and join him, becoming a tool of Arasaka. Of course, David refuses. In the end, we see being special means either dying a legend or becoming a tool of the corpos. There is no happy ending. At best, there's only existence. By the end of the story, Lucy and David are in a full-on relationship and living together. David discovers the cost of actually traveling to the moon, and he says it isn't as expensive as he thought. But Lucy replies that that's only one way. Nonetheless, when it's all said and done, Lucy ends up with more than enough money to not just escape, but to pay for a round-trip ticket if she really wanted. However, at this point, David is no longer alive, and he wouldn't be able to take her to the moon as promised. I'm sure some part of her deep down is happy that she's going to the moon, but she can't really fully appreciate it because all she can think about now is David. And if she could somehow make the trade, she'd abandon it all just to have David back. This anime was such an amazing ride. I enjoyed this so much, and I'm so excited to see what they have in store for us with this Wuthering Waves Edgerunners Collaboration, and I hope you chooms are too. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. That's all I got for you guys today, and until next time, Waves.